Okay everyone, as you can see we have got the Cooler Master H500M. This is the newer of the H500 range. There are quite a few. Some had a few issues and so forth, but basically this is the newer one. Don't get me wrong, it's still a little bit old, but we're going to just basically see how it performs in 2020. And the way we're going to review this is as if you've never come across a H500 case before. So we're not going to say, oh yeah, it's better than this and better than that because of this, that and the other, because obviously you won't know what we're on about. So basically we may do a few references and say they've improved this bit because they had issues in the older one, but we're not going to go like say, yeah, it's miss all the important information out and just tell you what's new. So let's get on with the box first of all. So first of all, you've got to mind out all the labels what have been stuck on here from the delivery firm because they didn't put it in a box, because this is a big box. I've had to move the camera back just so you can see it. Normally you wouldn't see above here basically, because this is a big case. As you can see from the box itself, you can see what the case looks like. You can see those big RGB lights. They are ARGB, and if I'm right, they are 20 centimeters, so that's big fans. You've got glass on both sides, as well as on the top, and on the front it's all mesh, with an option of putting glass if you wish, but to be honest I recommend you stick with a mesh. We'll go down that route in a few minutes. But let's have a look what else we've got on the box. So you've got all your RGB certifications down there saying it'll work with all your different boards and stuff like that. Basically, you've got an ARGB header on your motherboard, which is usually what we class, well, it's classed as a 3-pin connection, but it's actually 4 minus 1, so it's like 1 pin, miss 1, then 2 more pins. As long as you've got that header on your board, you should be fine. If it's a Gigabyte board, it may be 3 pins direct, but anyway, you should be fine. Also on the box, let's just spin it round. On this side you can see the specifications. I'm not going to go too much in. Again, Yodel stuck a nice big sticker over there so you can't see half of them. And then on the back side you've got a lot of the information again about the product, different languages, and you can see a basic breakdown of the product there, so you can see what it looks like when it's all in pieces. So let's open this up and see what we've got. Okay, so let's have a look in what's in the box first of all. So let's start off with a manual. So that's got all your instructions in there, which are basically in pictures, which basically makes it universal, so pretty much any language can pretty much understand that. You've also got warranty information in there as well. Check where you're getting it from, the warranty, because some countries may differ. Also inside there you've got a nice little cleaning cloth, which, well, in all honesty, it's a nice bonus, but all you do is going to be cleaning stuff on there, so I hope they haven't charged us much for that. You've got a big bag of screws, so that should do everything you're wanting. You have got a Molex to a 3-pin fan adapter there, just in case you haven't got enough sockets on your board. You've got a USB 2 socket to a USB mini socket by the looks of it. I'm guessing that is going to be possibly for the RGB controller inside there. That would obviously connect up to USB 2 socket and allow you to control it, or at least that's what I'm guessing. You've also got, looks like a splitter cable. I'm guessing this is RGB. Yeah, they use ARGB headers, so there's 2 of them, and that allows you to connect that into the controller as well, so you can add an extra 2 items on there, and it comes with some cable ties as well. And the only other thing it comes with is a extra glass panel, and yes, that is proper glass, as you can hear, and that would basically go along the front here. But obviously that's if you didn't want the mesh. I highly recommend you keep the mesh on there. The glass may look a little bit better, but it's a high airflow case. You put glass across the front, you are not going to be getting a lot of airflow through there. Okay, so let's have a look at the case. So you've got the glass side here. It does have a a screw basically in there. It's not a thumb screw. You do need a flathead screwdriver or possibly a coin to open that. It does come with a little ledge on the bottom of the glass from past experience, so that'll stop it falling out completely, but as always when undoing glass, undo it gently. This side, the reverse side, and it's heavy, so excuse me. The reverse side is glass as well, so that's sort of a positive and a negative in one. And the reason being, okay, it does have covers to cover all your cables up, but what you're going to be looking at, just the covers in there, there's not much you can do with it. I don't see the need for a glass panel there. Obviously it's a nice selling point, it's got one more than most cases, but is it really needed? I think it's a bit more of a marketing gimmick in all honesty. I'd rather see a black panel there rather than having to try and do all my cables neatly and hide them behind all these little parts. I'd rather just have a black side. On the front of the case you do have your panel here. It's hidden under all this wrap what's on here, so just excuse me while I peel some of it off. There we go, it's sort of like a matte finish on there, so it looks pretty nice. I'm guessing you're going to get lots of fingerprints on. Yeah, you've got 4 USB 3 ports on there, USB type C, and you've got your audio as well as your power and your reset button. That reset button either can be used as a reset button, or if you prefer you can get it to change the RGB lights going through the controller. So that's up to you how you set that up. I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. Also on top of the case, maybe hard to see, but you've got another glass panel there. There is mesh down the sides at the top as well to let air flow through. Personally, I would have liked to have seen an option for that to be mesh as well. Personally, I would have preferred that to allow more airflow out. On the front, as we said, it's mesh all the way down the front. You do have these 3 little compartments on the side, which are also mesh as well. To take the front off, you just pull from the bottom if you can. It's not always easy on these. To take the front panel off, you can't just pull from the front, or at least not with normal strength. You can't anyway. You're going to have to take the glass sides off to do that. So to take the front off, as you can probably hear, it's heavy. You're going to take this glass panel off here. So just turn roughly 90 degrees, and now that glass panel should, as you can see, it does sort of balance on there, so it shouldn't just fall out, but be careful because it is glass. And then exactly the same on the other side. You can hear the glass rattle as we move it, so there's no way you're not going to notice this one's glass, that's for sure. And again, this is on a hinge as well, but do be careful, never rely on stuff like that. Now to get the front panel off, there is like, I think it's 3 clips down either side. You have to push from the inside, which you can't get to on this side because this big metal bit's in the way, which is a bit of a pain. I didn't think that one through clearly. So we've got to take this, which obviously makes your cabling look nice and tidy and so forth. But in all honesty, if they had a black side on here rather than a glass side, they wouldn't need it because no one would see it. And I'm still not sure why you'd want a glass side here, because it's not as if you can put any RGB light in. You can't really see anything because it's all black inside. It just, I don't know. It's like having a glass window in your house and then getting someone to put one in for you and then deciding to put a brick wall behind it. Sounds a little strange to me, but you can see your cable in there you can get to, but to get to those clips along the front, it isn't easy at all. There's one. There we go, and the other one's just popped off. So there's the front. It's totally independent of the rest of the case, so the control panel's not built into it, anything like that, and you've got those 6 clips what hold it in place. If you wish to have the glass on the front of here, you can. You just basically take this piece out here and you get your glass panel, and that basically goes on instead, so it sort of looks a bit like that rather than that. Personally, I would highly recommend you stick with a mesh, especially if you're going to have a hot system in here. So that's how you take the front off. Let's have a look at more of these panels and how to get the other stuff off. So before we do the ones on the back side of the motherboard, let's take the top part off. And this one needs a Phillips head screwdriver. Well, they couldn't have chosen the same type of screwdriver for all of them, who knows? And why they even need that, a lot of cases these days you can have, they come with like pressure buttons on, like some of the Be Quiet ones, or even screw from there to save you having that big thumb screw in the middle of the glass. So this, I'm guessing, just lifts off now. Yeah, lifts off. And which isn't a good sign straight away. We've got a broken piece of plastic, looks like one of the clips from the inside, but it shouldn't really affect it too much because it's only one of the clips. It's that one there. You can see where it sticks out there. That one's broken off. Again, the weight's going to keep it on there. It's screwed in. You've got another 5 clips. It's not going to cause us an issue. But again, it's not nice to see broken bits like that. But I suppose there's not a huge amount you can do. Now, let's take these other bits off here. This one just pulls off. That's the backing for your motherboard CPU area, so it gives you plenty of room to fit a water cooler or mounting brackets on the back of the motherboard. Saves you taking the motherboard out of the case if you need to change it in the future. So that's always good. And then you've got another one down here where this one's screwed in. So to have 2 of them screwed in and one of them to clip on seems a little bit daft if you ask me. And then 2 are metal, one's plastic. It's a little bit strange. Don't get me wrong, the case looks amazing. It's a big case, it'll do everything you want, but just some of the design style choices on this, I think they're just, it's like, oh, what can we do different with this model? Yeah, let's go and stick a piece of glass on there. And the problem is now you put a piece of glass on there, you can see the inside and all the cables. So now we're going to have to cover all the cables up. There we go. So this panel here, as you can see, has got the controller built onto it. This is your RGB controller. It does need a power lead going to it, so a SATA power cable from your power supply. The reset button is already hooked up to it. It even says reset on it. So that means basically when this is connected up, you press that, it will change the lights using the reset button on the front rather than having to do software. But in theory, the cable, what we did have in here, I'm guessing it's this one. Here, you're going to plug that in. Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks like you plug that into there. Not easy to get to, we're going to have to take it off of there. Again, make sure you've got a clean desk, otherwise you're going to scratch all this off. So you can see everything's a little difficult to get to. I'm guessing that cable plugs into there. Yeah, it does. And then you'd plug that into your motherboard header for USB. And I'm guessing that will allow you to adjust the RGB through the motherboard software. I didn't see any software from Cooler Master on their website for this, or if any does work with it, so I'm not sure if that would actually work or not through your motherboard software. We'll have a look at that at a later time. But at least you can be able to connect all your RGB items up to this and use the front button, worst case scenario. I would have liked to have seen a better controller, in all honesty, because a lot of them these days just have a cable that goes from here to your RGB header on your motherboard, and then you can control it all through there. Seems like they've skimped out a little bit on the controller, and that's not always a good thing when considering this case is a £200 case. It's not a cheap one by all means. So let's just remove that. So as you can see, we're sort of getting down to the nitty-gritty now. So you can see some of the places here on the back where you can mount some of your SSDs, which is good. So you can just mount them on there. The cabling, which is quite a bit of it, is all black cabling, But come on, Cooler Master, why is everything black? And then suddenly on the HD audio, you've got multicoloured end on it. That's just, oh, it's a £200 case for God's sakes. Why is that like that? I've seen cases at 20 quid where that's all covered up. Why a multicoloured end? It's going to make the inside of the case look a bit of a mess, especially with all those glass panels in there where you can see it through. Sort it out. This day and age, you shouldn't be reusing old tat, which has got cables like that on it. You should be at least covering them up or using a newer design, because, oh, come on. At least there isn't a USB 2 header in there, because I'm guessing they would have done exactly the same thing. So cover that, excuse the language, crap up, because I don't want to see it again. Especially on a £200 case. God. But you've got everything else you need in there. Lots of fan headers and connectors. The fan connectors do seem to be 3-pin, which is a slight letdown. PWM and everything is usually 4-pin. That allows it to adjust the fan speeds a lot better, but again, may not notice a difference, but it would have been nice to have that option. You've got USB 3.1 gen, I'm guessing 1 or 2 header there for the USB-C, which will plug into the motherboard, but otherwise that's pretty much it. And it does also have an ARGB header there as well. So why is there an ARGB header there? So the cable's already there to hook into the motherboard to run either your standard 3-pin ARGB or the Gigabyte version, which they like to be different. Their 3-pin connector is there, hard to see, it's just 3 pins. But why have that? Yeah, that is coming out of the controller. And what's the USB mini one for? Because if it's getting power through there, you wouldn't need. That doesn't make sense to me. Why you've got 2 connections going into the motherboard? You generally have 1. I'll have to look that one up and let you know. I'll let you know in the description. Up here somewhere, and once I've actually built it up and so forth. But that doesn't seem 100% right. Okay. Now you can see a bay here to put your hard drives in. Unfortunately, you can't access it from this side, which is a bit of a pain. You've got to access it from this side. So if you want to add your hard drives inside there, you've got to take this part of the shroud out, which means, by the looks of it, unscrewing it from the back. So hopefully this part of the shroud will now come off one way or another. Oh no, there's another 2 screws down here. Now don't get me wrong, this thing's going to look really neat and nice once it's built, but it's one hell of a job to actually build it to make it look nice, because look at all the screws you've got to take out just to put a hard drive in. So I'm guessing this is just going to pull out. Oh no, to take that bit out, you've got to take this bit out as well. Which, oh, believe it or not, is screwed in as well. So that's another part which is designed to hide screws. So yeah, another nice thing. Oh God, the amount of screws we're having to take out here just to get the shroud out. God save you if you want to add a hard drive after you've built this machine. You've got to take half of it to pieces. Well, hey, we're in. This bit as well, which is a shroud, which does go there to cover up all the cabling, does have a VGA arm on there. That's basically to allow it to put pressure from the graphics card, so you'd have that in there. Your graphics card would be going across here and it'd rest onto this, obviously position it how you want. And that puts less strain on the motherboard or the motherboard socket your graphics card is plugged into, and that is also adjustable height-wise by 2 screws. So it's a nice thing to have in, saves you having to get a special arm to support it. Okay, now you can get to your hard drive bays. So you've got 2 bays there, okay? You can also fit another 2 SSDs there, as well as 2 more SSDs on here as well. So that takes you to 6 SSDs and 2 hard drives, or you could use the hard drives for SSD bays. But I would have liked to, being able to take those out from the back would probably make more sense, because then it would have saved you having to take all the shroud off. But again, if you want to use a full 320 radiator up and down here, you're going to have to remove that shroud anyway, or at least take that plate out, which was sitting on top of the shroud, depending on the size of it. So as you can see, this is all the stuff we've had to take out of the case just to get to certain areas while building it. So it's a bit of a maze to build, don't get me wrong, but again, I think it's going to be well worth it once we've actually got this all built up. So let's have a look what else we've got inside here. You've got the shroud for the the power supply. There's no hole in it, so you won't be able to see the branding or anything like that. Would have been nice, in all honesty, to have a cutout here so you could see the power supply, with an option of putting like a plastic or some sort of clip or rubber thing over with the Cooler Master logo, or blank, so you could either have the choice of seeing the brand of the power supply or not, rather than not, because some people will spend hell of a lot of money on a power supply, real top end one, more than some of the other parts in the machine. It'd be nice to be able to see the branding on it sometimes, just to show, yeah, look, I've got a top end whatever power supply. Name your favourite brand here. You can see your PCI Express slots there. You've got 7 there, so enough room for obviously a extra large ATX board, or an eATX board, as well as 2 here. This is for vertical CPUs. Sorry, that's for vertical GPUs. So if you wanted to put your graphics card in there, so the fans are facing the glass, you can do instead. Bear in mind, you will need a cable what connects the graphics card directly to the motherboard socket, and it can also affect the cooling ability of it as well. And it's only 2 bay wide, so if you get a graphics card, let's just say there is any 3 bay ones, because they have got these 3090 GeForce cards due out, probably they're out by the time this review comes live. A 3 bay one won't fit there, but again, the fans would be right up against the glass. I think for airflow, in all honesty, you're best putting it in the traditional way. But again, it's up to you. It might run absolutely fine for what you're wanting. So you do have lots of cutouts in here for putting obviously your cables through for your 24 pin and stuff. There are ones at the top as well, and then you've got ones on the shroud at the bottom as well for plugging in stuff like your USB headers, audio headers, front panel headers and stuff. This cutout here will be covered up by that shroud there on both sides. So you've got 2 different shrouds. To get to the power supply, you do have to take on this model, it won't slide in there, not enough room. So you have to take this plate off here with thumb screws, which are on very tight. Well, you then screw that onto your power supply and push your power supply in that way. 12cm fan, what's on the power supply should be facing the bottom of the case, which we'll have a look at now. So let's have a look at the bottom of the case. There we go. So on here, nothing at the front, but at the back you do have your dust filter, which slides out. Yes, I like the ones that slide out rather than ones that are clipped on, because that means you don't have to turn your machine upside down to clean your dust filter. That's where the power supply sucks its fresh air from. With any machine, especially ones like this, I don't advise you sit it directly on the floor. You need to be sitting it slightly off of the floor, or at least onto some sort of plank or bench or something, because with it sucking air in from the bottom, it's then obviously going to suck any dirt and dust what gets on it, especially carpets. They can sometimes be thick and block airflow as well, and some people like to use cleaning products on carpets and it'll suck all that up into your case as well. So I do advise you take this off of the floor, even if it's just by a couple of inches. Make yourself a mini shelf or something to put it on, just to keep it off of the floor. But again, something what's going to look so beautiful, I wouldn't advise you having it on the floor anyway, otherwise you might as well just have a plain black box. Right, let's have a quick look what else we've got in here. The rear fan, unfortunately, is just a 3-pin. It's not ARGB, no colours, it's just, I'm guessing, a standard Cooler Master fan. Cooler Master, can't really see the model number on there. The ones on the front are MF200Rs, if you wanted to know, and they are ARGB. Otherwise, the top, you do have room, as we said, for putting in a lot of cooling up here, so you can put a large radiator or 3 fans up there. There's plenty of cutouts across the top. This bit does actually remove as well, so you won't think it's going to make it easier for you to actually mount your water cooler or something. You can actually take it off. Again, even more screws and even more of the case, which ends up becoming, well, pretty bare actually by the time you take all the add-ons on, and that's basically what the difference is between most of the H500 range. I think they all use the same chassis, and then they just add little bits on depending on the model, because you've got the H500, you've got the H500P, which was the one that looks nice but was initially slated because half of the panels fell off and so forth, as well as, well, slightly impractical because it had a big piece of plastic on the front and you couldn't get any air coming in. Where they rectified that with the coming out with a mesh front for it, which you could buy separately, or a mesh version of the case, and then you've got a white mesh version, and then they brought this one out. So this is the all singing dancing one, which again, this is a H500M, and it's the ARGB version. I think they only do an ARGB version on this, to my knowledge. I can't see any mention of the standard RGB version. So that's, as you can see, plenty of room to pretty much do whatever you want. Plenty of cable tie downs, plenty of room to add pretty much anything into this case you want. I'm going to build a machine into this in a few minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like all built up. We're actually going to be using this machine for my main office machine. It's going to have a Threadripper 3960X in there, so that's 24 cores, 48 threads. We're going to overclock it to roughly 4.4 gigahertz, so it's going to get pretty hot. We're going to put in a nice large water cooler with an extra 3 fans on it, so 6 fans in total up the top. Obviously it's going to have a nice big motherboard in there, 64 gig of memory, plenty of SSDs, and so forth, and hopefully whenever the new GeForce 30 series, ideally the 3090, is available, and they haven't sold out everywhere, we'll be having one of those in there. Until then, we're stuck with a few-year-old GeForce 1080, but it will be upgraded, as I said, to that 30 series, and hopefully by the time I've filmed the rest of this, that will have turned up. Okay, as you can see, we've got the machine up and running. Just a quick run through the specs. You've got obviously the H500M case, which is this one here, which is ARGB. It's got the standard fans, what it comes with on the front, so that's 2 20cm fans, I think they are, on the front, and one on the back, which is a 14cm. We've installed a water cooler in there. It's a Cooler Master one, specifically designed for the Threadripper CPU we're running in there, but we've added 6 total fans, but all the fans we're using are Arctic P140 Bionics X fans, which are pressure optimised fans. So that's a water cooler that normally comes with 3 fans. We're actually set it up with 6. Also on top of that, you've got your 24 core 48 thread Threadripper, which is the 3960X. You've also got an MSI motherboard, which is the TRX40 Pro Wi-Fi. Even though we're not using the Wi-Fi option on it, it's got it on there. We're currently awaiting our new graphics card, which is the GeForce 3090. We've specifically gone for the ASUS Strix one, which is factory overclocked, which does require 3 8-pin connectors to power it. We've also got a Sound Blaster card in there. Not many people use those anymore, but it's a Sound Blaster Live card. You've also got a add-in card what comes with the board, which allows you to host other SSDs. In total, there is 3 M.2 SSDs in there. They are NVMe based Gen 4. 2 traditional hard drives, a 2TB and a 4TB, as well as a traditional SSD, which is on the backside of the motherboard. Otherwise, the power supplies is a Corsair AX 1200i, so that's a 1200 watt power supply. So as you can see, you've got quite a hefty machine here. It's not far off as high as you probably can get. You can probably go a few more cores on the CPU, but not much. It's still a £1,500 CPU. Graphics card, okay, we're running a GeForce 1080 at the moment because we're waiting for ours, but still it gives you a rough idea. But still, this machine is running as it should be. So let me just give you a rough idea. The machine is running in Windows at the moment. It's working. It's overclocked, so the 3.8 gigahertz processors are actually running at 4.375 gigahertz, and the V-core is also overclocked to obviously achieve that. So it's going to be generating more heat than normal. But just to give you a rough idea, this machine is currently running on, well, just within Windows, so on idle. So as you can hear, it's pretty quiet. Obviously, under load, this machine is going to produce a lot more noise, which you're going to get with whatever machine you go for. If you want it high performance, it's going to make a lot of noise when the fans do kick in. So testing stuff like that can be a little bit hit and miss. I don't always agree with all the testing because different cases come with different fans, some with, some without, some are designed so you can add your own, and then obviously it depends on what you put inside it. It's going to alter the test results. So I'll just give you a rough idea. This is our smoke test. As you can see, we've got smoke, and basically we're just going to see, and this is with the fans on low, how well it sucks air in. As you can see there, the front of the case is pretty much, and this is on really low setting at the moment, is sucking in the air pretty well, and that's on low. You can just imagine when I stick this on to do a Cinebench run, you'll probably hear the fans kick in a second, and you'll see more and more of that smoke getting sucked in. Here we go, the fans are starting to kick in now, and as you can see, that smoke is getting pulled all the way in, so there's nothing stopping that going in. This machine, if it wants air, it will get it. You're not going to get much more better airflow than this. So it's a very good case. Obviously you've got the glass panels on both sides, but it's got plenty of room in there to suck all that air in with those big fans on the front and loads of options for exhaust and so forth. So it gives you a rough idea. I'll run you through some B-roll, but as you can see, I'm extremely happy with this case because it's a big upgrade from the older generation models, as well as even some models what are out there on the market from other manufacturers.